Conversation 1. You will hear a man phoning a woman about an advertisement he has seen in the paper for some furniture. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 5. Now we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 5.
Hello?
Oh, hello. I'm ringing about the advertisement in yesterday's newspaper, the one for the bookcases. Can you tell me if they're still available?
We've sold one, but we still have 2 available.
Right. Can you tell me a bit about them?
Sure. What do you want to know?
Well, I'm looking for something to fit in my study. Well, I'm not too worried about the height, but the width's quite important. Can you tell me how wide each of them is?
They're both exactly the same size. Let me see, I've got the details written down somewhere. Yes, so they're both 75 centimetres wide and 180 centimetres high.
Okay, fine. That should fit in okay. And I don't want anything that looks too severe. Not made of metal, for example. I was really looking for something made of wood.
That's all right. They are, both of them.
So, are they both the same price as well?
No, the first bookcase is quite a bit cheaper. It's just £15. We paid £60 for it just 5 years ago, so it's very good value. It's in perfectly good condition. Well, they're both in very good condition, in fact. But the first one isn't the same quality as the other one. It's a good, sturdy bookcase. It used to be in my son's room, but it could do with a fresh coat of paint.
Oh, it's painted?
Yes, it's cream at present. But as I say, you could easily change that if you wanted, to fit in with your colour scheme.
Yes, I'd probably paint it white if I got it. Let's see, what else? How many shelves has it got?
6. 2 of them are fixed, and the other 4 are adjustable, so you can shift them up and down according to the sizes of your books.
Right, fine. Well, that certainly sounds like a possibility.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 6 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 6 to 10.
But the second one's a lovely bookcase too. That's not painted, it's just the natural wood colour, dark brown. It was my grandmother's, and I think she bought it sometime in the 1930s, so I'd say it must be getting on for 80 years old, so it's very good quality. They don't make them like that nowadays.
And you said it's the same dimensions as the first one?
Yes, and it's got the 6 shelves, but it also has a cupboard at the bottom that's really useful for keeping odds and ends in.
Right.
Oh, and I nearly forgot to say, the other thing about it is it's got glass doors, so the books are all kept out of the dust. So it's really good value for the money. I'm really sorry to be selling it, but we just don't have the room for it.
So what are you asking for that one?
£95. It's quite a bit more, but it's a lovely piece of furniture. A real heirloom.
Yes. All the same, it's a lot more than I wanted to pay. I didn't really want to go above 30 or 40. Anyway, the first one sounds fine for what I need.
Just as you like.
So, is it all right if I come round and have a look this evening? Then, if it's okay, I can take it away with me.
Of course. So you'll be coming by car, will you?
I've got a friend with a van, so I'll get him to bring me round. If you can just give me the details of where you live.
Sure. I'm Mrs. Blake.
Blake.
That's right. And the address is 41 Oak Rise. That's in Stanton.
OK, so I'll be coming from the town centre. Can you give me an idea of where you are?
Yes. You know the road that goes out towards the university?
Yes.
Well, you take that road and you go on till you get to a roundabout. Go straight on, then Oak Rise is the first road to the right.
Out towards the university, past the roundabout, first left.
First right. And we're at the end of the road.
Got it. So I'll be round at about 7, if that's all right. Oh, and my name's Connor. Connor Field.
Fine. I'll see you then, Connor. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
That is the end of Section 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turn to Section 2. Section 2, you will hear a woman giving an introductory talk at a health centre open day. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 17. Now listen carefully to the information talk and answer questions 11 to 17.
Welcome everyone today to the Sway Road Health Centre's open morning. My name is Lucy and I'm a nurse based at the health centre. I'd first like to tell you a little about the health centre. We have 6 doctors who work here full-time and we are part of the district's medical services to those who live within our practice area. Currently, we have just in excess of 7,000 patients registered here. The patients are served from our centre here in Sway Road, but we also have a secondary centre in Church Road to ease congestion here and to make it easier for patients who live in that part of town. To register with us, please come during opening hours, bringing a photo ID, a proof of residence address dated within 3 months of your application, and your medical card, if you have one. If you don't, we'll ask you to fill out a registration form. We will ask for your preference for your doctor, and we will try to comply, although this is not always possible. When applying, the reception staff will ask you for your medical history, and they will also ask a nurse to take a blood sample. It's unusual that we would turn anyone down, and you can see a doctor as soon as you've registered. Your updated medical card will be posted to you as soon as possible. If you want to make an appointment with us, this should be made by telephone and not by email. We have email, but due to the large amount we receive, some do not get read fast enough, and appointments are not made in time. Calls can be made to our centre during our opening hours, which are 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. and 2 p.m. to 7 p.m, Monday to Friday. Between 1 and 2 p.m, the centre is closed, except for emergency calls only. We are closed on Saturdays, Sundays, and on public holidays. If you do have an emergency, we would stress that a serious one would be better served by going to hospital or by calling an ambulance. Our practice supports the training of medical students, and you might be asked whether your visit to a nurse or doctor can be done with a student present. There is no obligation for you to accept this, and the student will not be present if you prefer to have your consultation in private. Our surgery offers a complete travel service, including a full range of vaccinations. The wide diversity of destinations and the increased popularity of adventure holidays increase the risk to your health. which in turn makes the service we provide increasingly complex. Ask for a travel risk form at reception or download it from our website and hand it in to our reception as soon as you've booked your holiday. Our nurse will review the form and advise you on the vaccinations you should have. It's also a good idea to keep a vaccination card, so you have a record of what you have had over the years. Vaccinations must be paid for on the day of administration, unless you are covered by a health insurer.
You now have some time to look at questions 18 to 20. Now listen to the rest of the introductory talk and answer questions 18 to 20.
Finally, if you have any suggestions to improve our service, please use the suggestion box at reception. We will provide you with paper and pen if you don't have any. Also, from time to time, people feel that they have a problem with their care. If you have any complaints about the service you receive at our health centre, please bring this to the attention of the practice manager, who will be happy to discuss the issue. We have a complaints procedure that is available at reception, or it can be downloaded from our website. So, today, all our staff are here for this Saturday morning, so that you can look around the centre and ask any questions. This includes all our doctors, nurses and support staff. All the areas are open, except for the practice offices, which have some sensitive material. You can wander around and ask anyone questions, though please remember that the doctors are not here for consultations, so please do not turn any conversations into a doctor's visit. That's enough from me. Please now look around and ask whatever questions you want. If you'd like to register today, then just go to reception and they'll get you organised. I'll be based here in the waiting room, so you can ask me any questions as well, of course.
That is the end of section 2. You will now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turn to Section 3. Section 3. You will hear two students discussing a project they have to do as part of a literature course on great books. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 25. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 25.
Hi, Joey. How are you doing? I heard you were sick.
Oh, hi, Olivia. Yeah, I had a virus last week, and I missed a whole pile of lectures, like the first one on the great books in literature, where Dr. Castle gave us all the information about the semester project.
I can give you copies of the handouts. I've got them right here.
That's okay. I already collected the handouts, but I'm not very clear about all the details. I know we each have to choose an individual author. I think I'm going to do Carlos Castaneda. I'm really interested in South American literature.
Have you checked he's on the list that Dr. Castle gave us? We can't just choose anyone.
Yeah, I checked. It's okay. Who did you choose?
Well, I was thinking of choosing Ernest Hemingway, but then I thought, no, I'll do a British author, not an American one. So I chose Emily Bronte.
Okay. And first of all, it says we have to read a biography of our author. I guess it's okay if we just look up information about him on the internet?
No, it's got to be a full-length book. I think the minimum length's 250 pages. There's a list of biographies. Didn't you get that?
Oh, right. I didn't realize we had to stick with that. So, what do we have to do when we've read the biography?
Well, then we have to choose one work by the writer. Again, it's got to be something quite long. We can't just read a short story.
But I guess a collection of short stories would be okay?
Yes, or even a collection of poems, they said. But I think most people are doing novels. I'm going to do Wuthering Heights. I've read it before, but I really want to read it again now I've found out more about the writer.
And then the video. We have to make a short video about our author and about the book. How long has it got to be?
A minute.
What? Like 60 seconds? We got to give all the important information about their life and the book we choose?
Well, you can't do everything. I wrote it down somewhere. Yes, Dr. Castle said we had to find or write a short passage that helps to explain the author's passion for writing, why they're a writer. So we can back this up with reference to important events in the writer's life, if they're relevant. But it's up to us, really. The video's meant to portray the essence of the writer's life and the piece of writing we choose.
So when we read the biography, we have to think about what kind of person our writer is.
Yes, and the historical context and so on. So for my writer, Emily Bronte, the biography gave a really strong impression of the place where she lived and the countryside around.
Right. I'm beginning to get the idea.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 26 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 26 to 30.
Can I check the other requirements with you?
Sure.
The handout said after we'd read the biography, we had to read the work we'd chosen by our author and choose a passage that's typical in some way, that typifies the author's interests and style.
Yes, but at the same time, it has to relate to the biographical extract you choose. There's got to be some sort of theme linking them.
Okay, I'm with you.
And then you have to think about the video.
So are we meant to dramatize the scene we choose?
I guess we could, but there's not a lot of time for that. I think it's more how we can use things like sound effects to create the atmosphere, the feeling we want.
And presumably visuals as well?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I suppose that's the whole point of making a video. But whatever we use has to be historically in keeping with the author. We can use things like digital image processing to do it all.
So we can use any computer software we want?
Sure. And it's important that we use a range, not just one software program. That's actually one of the things we're assessed on.
Okay.
Oh, and something else that's apparently really important is to keep track of the materials we use and to acknowledge them.
Including stuff we download off the internet, presumably?
Yeah, so our video has to list all the material used with details of the source in a bibliography at the end.
Okay. And you were talking about assessment of the project. Did they give us the criteria? I couldn't find anything on the handout.
Sure. He gave us them in the lecture. Let's see, you get 25% just for getting all the components done. That's both sets of reading and the video. Then the second part is actually how successful we are at getting the essence of the work. They call that content, and that counts for 50%. Then the last 25% is on the video itself, the artistic and technical side.
Great. Well, that sounds a lot of work, but a whole lot better than just handing in a paper. Thanks a lot, Olivia.
You're welcome.
That is the end of section 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turn to Section 4. Section 4. You will hear a lecture on the Atacama Desert in Chile. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Good morning everyone, and welcome to this lecture on geography. We are going to continue our focus on deserts and desertification, and today we'll look at the phenomenon of rain shadow deserts. As an example, we'll have a look at the Atacama Desert, the highest and driest desert in the world. The centre of the Atacama Desert is known as the driest place on Earth. The reason for the Atacama's aridity is due to its special geographical conditions, which create what is known as a rain shadow over the area. Rain shadow deserts are formed because tall mountain ranges prevent moisture-rich clouds from reaching areas on the other side of the range. In the case of the Atacama Desert, winds coming off the Atlantic Ocean carry moisture towards the Andes. The mountains cause the moist air to rise until condensation causes the moisture to be released as rain. As all this moisture is released from the cloud, only dry air moves over the top of the Andes. Any wind that comes off the Pacific towards the Atacama Desert is too cool to retain any moisture. The result is that nearly all the air above the Atacama is too dry to create any rain, and it is this that is known as a rain shadow. One unexpected benefit of the rain shadow over the Atacama and the desert's high altitude is that it creates an unusually clear sky, and so the area is ideal for the observation of space. Last year, the US National Science Foundation inaugurated the Atacama Large Millimeter Array, one of the world's most powerful telescopes. The telescope comprises 66 antennas that will provide high-resolution images of the earliest galaxies in the distant universe, as well as the formation processes of planets circling stars in our own Milky Way galaxy. Scientists from around the world will have the opportunity to explore such objects as they never could before, with an array of telescopes more than 100 times more powerful than any previous millimeter arrays. The Atacama Desert of Chile covers the northern third of the country, stretching more than 1,000 kilometers. Straddling the southern border of Peru, it is bound on the west by the barren hills on the Pacific coast, and it extends east into the Andes Mountains. At an average elevation of about 4,000 meters, it is not only the highest desert in the world, but also one of the coldest, with temperatures averaging between 0 and minus 25 degrees Celsius. The plant and animal life in the Atacama survive under perhaps the Earth's most demanding conditions. Local populations have relied on some of the species of plant for medical purposes for generations. Animal life is very rare in this desert, though there are a few insects and lizards to be found. Mice and foxes are also present, but in very small numbers. In spite of its inhospitable environment, the Atacama Desert has a variety of natural resources, and the Atacama was one of Chile's chief sources of wealth until the First World War. Prior to that time, that nation had a monopoly on the nitrate commerce worldwide. 3 million tons were extracted in some years, and the taxes alone on these exports amounted to 50% of the government's revenues. Currently, the Atacama Desert is littered with approximately 170 abandoned nitrate mining towns, almost all of which were shut down decades after the invention of synthetic nitrate in Germany at the turn of the 20th century. Since that time, sulphur has been mined, as well as copper, which is the region's chief source of revenue, providing over 30% of the world's copper supply. The Atacama border dispute between Chile and Bolivia began in the 1800s over these resources. Because of the lack of rainfall, the environment offers little support to agriculture, but some farming is done near the river oases. Lemons are grown on the shores of the salt marshes, while potatoes and alfalfa are grown near the lower river. Despite extremes in desolation, there is stunning beauty, and tourism is now one of the major sources of income for the area. With the Andes as a backdrop, the desert contains 5 snow-topped volcanoes, which are the highest volcanoes in the world. The desert also has impressive geysers, lagoons, and other spectacular natural features. In addition, these beautiful and rare sites draw scientists wishing to study the area, and, as a result, environmentalists are concerned about the number of people who enter the Atacama, and the environmentalists claim that the visitors have not been educated sufficiently to understand the delicate balance that is needed in this environment. Urbanization and mining operations have already brought about some damage, and overgrazing of domestic livestock has occurred in the north, as has commercial gathering of rare plants, including cacti and bulbs. It's hard enough for plants to grow in this area as it is, without having their growth cycles broken up by humans.
That is the end of section 4. You will now have half a minute to check your answers.